Hi guys, Dr. Rob Barrington here with some more nutrition advice. I wanted to talk today about cigarettes and alcohol, not the Oasis song. I wanted to talk about the consumption of alcohol and the smoking of cigarettes and how they relate to body weight changes. Now, there is a general misconception that alcohol causes weight gain. Now, I think most people will accept that those people who have smoked and have tried to give up smoking, they generally gain weight when they give up cigarettes. But there is a misconception, particularly amongst the layman, that that drinking alcohol actually causes a weight gain. This is not what's shown in the nutritional literature. Both cigarettes and alcohol are associated with lower body weights. And this is quite interesting because I think it gives us some interesting nutritional things to talk about. Now, in terms of cigarettes, there is a physiological reason why cigarettes may cause a reduction in body weight. And this could explain the association between cigarette smoking and lower body weights. And the chemical in cigarettes that may cause this is nicotine. I think this is widely known. Nicotine is a central nervous stimulant. It works in a kind of a similar way to caffeine. It stimulates the release of adrenaline, and that adrenaline may have an ability to cause the oxidation of energy in the body, and that may explain why there is a reduction in body weights. There's an association between lower body weights and those people who smoke. Many studies have been done on nicotine. It's one of those substances that's been the subject of many papers, and it does increase resting metabolic rate. So there is a physiological reason why smoking may cause a reduction in body weight. There is also a physiological reason why, assuming that you take my assertion to be correct, that there is an association, and please check that. Nearly every single paper that's looked at the association between drinkers and body weight has shown that those people who regularly drink, and we're not talking about alcoholics or people who are addicted to alcohol, we're talking about reasonably moderate drinkers that drink regularly, they do have there is an association between drinking and a reduction in body weight. Now, there is a metabolic reason why alcoholics have lower body weights, and that's because their metabolism is affected and their absorption of nutrients is maybe affected, and therefore they may have a kind of a wasting syndrome with the way they consume their alcohol. But we're really talking about moderate drinkers. Moderate drinkers tend to have lower body weights. There is a physiological reason for this. Alcohol may stimulate a pathway in the liver that causes the oxidation of fatty acids, and that may actually cause a decrease in body weight. So both smoking and alcohol have physiological reasons why they may cause a reduction in body weights. What I really wanted to talk about is the way that the behavioural effects of alcohol and cigarette smoking and how they may affect body weights. Now, a number of studies have been done on this, and it's not a popular topic of study in terms of the fact that alcohol is often studied from a physiological perspective, and cigarette smoking is often and nicotine is often studied from a physiological perspective. There are less studies done on the behavioural effects of cigarette smoking and alcohol consumption and nutrition. But those studies that have been done show that in alcohol, those people who can regularly consume alcohol, they tend to consume lower amounts of carbohydrate, and in particular, they consume lower amounts of sugar. I have mentioned this before on some videos, and there are a number of articles on my blog if you want to read those for further background information. But there's generally those people that consume alcohol regularly tend to consume less sugar. If we go to cigarette smokers, we also find there's evidence that those people, when they stop smoking, they actually try and well, we don't. It's not known the reason, but there is an increase in sugar consumption, in sugary snacks, in those people who stop cigarette smoking. The implication here is that perhaps those people who were previously getting a reward from nicotine through the reward pathways in the brain, they seek out sugar because sugar can produce this drug-like effect in the body and stimulate similar reward pathways. So we know that those people that stop smoking turn to sugary snacks. And it's interesting because if you put these two facts together, from these two differing habits, alcohol encourages, those people that regularly consume alcohol tend to have a lower intake of sugar, and those people who stop smoking tend to go towards sugary snacks in order to be able to possibly to stimulate their reward pathways that they now have an absence of stimulation because they've withdrawn from nicotine. If we put these two bits of information together, it may well give us insights into what the real cause of weight gain and obesity is. And I've been saying this for a long time. Weight gain and obesity is caused by insulin resistance, and that insulin resistance comes from the overconsumption of sugar. It's not just me that's been saying this. There's been a number of nutritionists and biochemists and people online. People have written books about this. Sugar is starting to be seen as the reason for weight gain. And I think if you look at the papers surrounding alcohol and cigarette smoking, we see evidence for this. Those people who manage to avoid sugar, those people who manage to eat higher quality diets, generally are those people who don't gain weight. It's the inclusion of sugar, particularly through things like soft drinks and sugary snacks, that tends to cause insulin resistance and therefore tends to cause weight gain. And those people who consume alcohol, who perhaps, again, it's not really understood why those people who consume alcohol have lower sugar intakes, but it's assumed that maybe the alcohol is a substitute for sugar. There is some reason why in the brain the consumption of alcohol decreases the requirement or the seeking out of sugar. Just as those people who smoke cigarettes, they get their reward from the nicotine. They don't need the reward from the sugar. When you remove perhaps the alcohol and the nicotine, the reward pathways in the brain, they're not being stimulated. So people seek out other alternatives, and there may be other things that people seek out, but certainly some people turn to sugar, and that is therefore why they put weight gain on. So alcohol is protective of weight gain. Cigarette smoking is also protective of weight gain. And I think it's widely known that those people who give up smoking tend to put weight on. It's one of the side effects that I think even the NHS website will say one of the side effects of giving up smoking is that you may put weight on. It's widely accepted, but most people think that alcohol consumption actually causes you to gain weight, and really the scientific evidence, and when you read the papers, it's interesting because the researchers it's almost a surprise to them when they get their results. They go, oh well, we thought the alcohol would cause people to gain weight, and it's actually the opposite. We see the opposite association. Those people that consume more alcohol tend to have lower body weights. And it just goes to show the fallacy of the energy, the fallacy of calorie counting and the energy hypothesis of weight gain. That it's far more complex than that, and there's so many interactions, and many of them are behavioural. And it's this stimulation of the reward pathways in the brain, and the fact that the realization that sugar is a drug and it can stimulate these reward pathways, and therefore it's really closely linked to the consumption of alcohol and smoking of cigarettes, because these are two of the other habits that people turn to be able to stimulate these reward pathways. If you remove the alcohol, you remove the cigarettes, people still have a desire to stimulate these reward pathways, and one of the ways they can do it is through a third drug, which is sugar, and that drug unfortunately has side effects because it causes weight gain. So there's some very, very interesting literature out there in the nutritional literature and the drug literature, and even in the psychology literature where they look at the effects of alcohol and smoking. There are if you're interested in this subject, there are some articles on my blog if you want to have a further bit of research into this area, and I would suggest you do because it is very interesting. So I hope that was of use to you, and I hope that was interesting and stimulated some thought there. Alcohol generally is not actually as bad for you as people claim it is. Moderate drinkers tend to live longer, they tend to have lower mortality rates. It's only when you overdo the drinking that it tends to become harmful. Cigarette smoking, yes, I would agree, it is possibly quite harmful, and it does seem to have many deleterious effects, and I obviously wouldn't recommend it. If you do smoke and you can't give it up, there are many nutritional things that you can do to protect yourself from the damaging effects of cigarette smoke, and I would certainly look at taking higher amounts of antioxidants, particularly because one of the effects of smoking is that it depletes your body of antioxidants. And it's that antioxidant depleted state which is really the damaging, the driver of all the diseases that are caused by cigarette smoking. Once you've depleted the antioxidants in the lungs, they are then exposed to the carcinogenic chemicals, and those carcinogenic chemicals, with the free radical, the generation of free radicals, can initiate cancers in the lungs and in other places. And therefore it's very important to make sure that you have a high quality diet and you take in a lot of antioxidants. Of course, I would recommend that the primary thing that you should do is to give up smoking, but if you can't and you're finding it very difficult, you can minimize the effects of cigarette smoke if you have a very high quality diet. And that is anecdotally known. Many people smoke all of their lives and they live to be in their hundreds. It is possible. Why these people are protected is probably because they have endogenously very high levels of antioxidants. They're very good at metabolizing the chemicals from the cigarette smoke, and they probably also have protection from their diet. So if that was of interest to you, or you've got any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments box below, and as always I will try to get back to you, and I will see you soon for another video. And in the meantime, take care.